Analyzing what happened in election 2016 in a down-to-the-wire race in the Michigan primary, Bernie Sanders snags his biggest win yet. Meantime, Donald Trump crushed it on the Republican side with wins in Hawaii, Michigan, and Mississippi. In his victory speech, the Republican frontrunner bragged that TV ads and shots from rivals have done nothing to slow his rise. So how will these wins impact the candidates as they look ahead to Florida's winner-take-all primary? It's in less than a week. Joining us now, UNF political science professor, Dr. Matt Corrigan. Matt, let's start with Bernie Sanders scoring an upset in Michigan. He basically says that the political revolution he is orchestrating is strong. Let's give a listen.
Okay.
The Bernie Sanders campaign, the people's revolution that we are talking about, the political revolution that we are talking about, is strong in every part of the country. And frankly, we believe that our strongest areas are yet to happen. We're going to do very, very well in the West Coast and other parts of this country.
So the question becomes, Matt, did Bernie Sanders breathe new life into his long-shot bid?
Yeah, definitely. It was a crucial win for him because he needed some momentum. I think a really underreported story about the Sanders campaign is their money. You know, he talks about money in politics, but he's created a fundraising machine from small donors. So he can go back again and again to these small donors over the internet and keep his campaign going. He's got plenty of money to keep this going. So this is going to be a competitive process throughout the spring. And in some ways, Bruce, I think that's good for Secretary Clinton, because I think it's better that she has competition on the Democratic side so that she and Trump are not looking at each other for 8 months.
I want to listen to what Donald Trump had to say, because he is ramping up his attacks on Marco Rubio and trying to ram the proverbial nail into his coffin. Here's what Trump had to say.
Well, I have no message to Marco. I think that, he has to make his own. It's been a tough night for him, but he's going to make his own decision. I've actually had a good relationship with Marco, believe it or not. He became hostile about 2 weeks ago, and it didn't work. See, hostility works for some people. It doesn't work for everybody.
Hostility apparently works for Donald Trump. I know UNF this morning came out with a new poll, and it shows what's expected to happen here in Florida. Strong showing in South Florida. Is that Rubio's last chance, his last stand?
It really is, Bruce. We've got Dr. Michael Bender and Colleen Hampsey, our lead student researcher, found about a 15-point percentage difference for Trump in Florida. And so Rubio's going into the last week needing all the help he can get. Really, three things have to happen. There's a debate on Thursday night he has to do really well in. Second, you've got to have a huge turnout in Southeast Florida where Rubio should be very strong. And then lastly, all these attack ads against Trump have got to finally make some difference. They haven't made a difference yet.
I've got to ask you about this because I've never seen anything like it. Donald Trump, rather than holding a victory speech last night, held a news conference that really looked like an infomercial. It was staged with some of his products, wine, shampoo, what have you, and basically he used this to talk about his name and tying it to commercial success. Do normal political rules not apply to this man?
They really don't. His bottom line is people pay attention. Last night, during this bizarre news conference, infomercial, he's talking about Trump steaks and so forth. The cable networks played it entirely for about an hour. They don't give the President of the United States a complete hour of coverage. I mean, it is really a phenomena, and people just cannot take their eyes off Donald Trump, whether you like him or you don't like him, and there's a lot of people on both sides of that. And so that's really his secret, is that he's able to dominate the media landscape.
When's the media going to dominate him and say, we want to know what your plan is, and hold his feet to the fire? Ever?
I think it's really important, Bruce. I think it's a great point. If you look at trade, for example, you know, his ideas of having tariffs on other countries sounds good. You know, it's a populist pitch, but that would increase prices on all sorts of products here. And when you're talking about being competitive overseas, does that mean he wants union wages to be very, very high? He's got to come in with some details. And I think one advantage of having this long campaign, and the rest of the world wonders why we have this long campaign season, is that at some point he's going to have to come forward with details.
I could ask you more questions about this, but time trumps us on that. Matt Corrigan, thank you.
Okay, Bruce.